On November 2020, Pentagon officially declassified and published footage relating to UFOs for the first time. Many videos have been taken from UFOs worldwide, but this was the first time a credible source has officially confirmed the existence of UFOs. The flying objects which were shown in science fiction movies and were made up by human minds became real. Does it mean we're not the only intelligent creatures on Earth? Reptilian humanoids. According to this theory, extraterrestrial reptiles are half-human and half-reptile creatures that many believe live next to us. These creatures can be shapeshifters and look like humans and reptiles. There is considerable evidence of them in different cultures. There are similar signs and stories about snake-shaped gods in the history and culture of most past civilizations. Strangely enough, these civilizations were thousands of miles apart, so reptilians cannot say that they are all just myths. They seem to be something they saw that it was recorded on tablets and in the form of lithographs. For example, in the Abrahamic religions, a creature could be transformed into a reptile or a serpent in the Garden of Eden. By eating the forbidden fruit caused Adam and Eve to fall. This creature is known as Satan or Lucifer. According to these religions, these creatures were sent to Earth due to disobedience from God and lived with us. Or Quetzalcoatl in Aztec civilization means the feathered serpent, the god of life, light and wisdom, the lord of day and winds. The ruler of the West has come to symbolize the goddess Venus or the morning star. This creature has similar signs to Lucifer. Kukulkan also means amazing snake in the Mayan civilization. This creature was significant in the Mayan culture. In Sanskrit, the term Naga literally means snake. In Hinduism and Buddhism, Nagas are half-serpent beings that reside in the netherworld, Patala, and can occasionally take human form. Rituals devoted to these supernatural beings have been taking place throughout South Asia for at least 2,000 years. It has been mentioned in Isaiah about snake-like creatures called seraphim that had fiery nature and lived on Earth before humans. And in Middle Eastern cultures, there was a creature called the jinn, which is made of smokeless fire. Jinns are usually shapeshifters that might appear in the shape of lizards, snakes, and crocodiles. In some of these cultures, it is said that if there is a snake or lizard in a house, the owners will not kill them immediately, since they believe these animals could be the jinns that have come to visit them, and killing them could bring misfortune. Then the owners would make them go away without killing them. Examining the historical evidence, it seems that these creatures have good and bad types in different periods. They have taught various sciences such as medical agriculture and war to human beings, or have protected them from other reptiles or snake-shaped gods. There is an important point here. In these cultures, such as the Aztecs and the Maya, the snake-shaped gods commanded a sacrifice of humans, and only certain people were able to communicate with them. These people, who were shamans, held special rituals. To shed blood and go into a trance, these creatures appeared to them and took instructions from them on how to rule over the people. So these reptile creatures such as jinns, demons, archons, nagas, who have different names in different cultures, are the enemy of man, who want the blood to be shed, especially human blood. Exactly what Horus wanted from Aleister Crowley, because blood is the most valuable gift for these creatures. In other words, the blood is a spiritual currency.
We have an investment in blood. Think of it as spiritual currency.
Spiritual currency?
What?
In ancient China, kings attributed their lineage to dragons, claiming to be descended from dragons. The reptiles seek to rule over humans and their world by connecting with elite bloodlines that have done so throughout history and transferred power to them. They did exactly the same with Knights of Templar.
Who or what is ultimately behind this? Or at least the depth of the rabbit hole got so far. Well, they ain't for a start. Because they're just here today, gone tomorrow, people who are just puppets of a system that's here yesterday, today, tomorrow, and the next day. It's not him. I don't care if he's supposed to be the most powerful man in the world. He ain't. He's another bloody glove puppet. And anyone in that job, the same applies to. It's not him either. Here today, gone tomorrow, presidents and leaders who are replaced by other leaders. But the system, the direction goes on because there's something behind that that's pushing that direction on. And nor even is it the corporations. They're still at the level of playing out the control. It's not actually at the point of creating it. It's not the origin. It's not people sitting around tables. They're still at the point of playing it out. You can go into the shadows and you can get closer to where it's coming from, but you're still at the play out level. You go even deeper into the rabbit hole, really deep into the web. And that's where you find people like the Rothschilds and such like. You don't see us, but we control your life. But there's levels beyond that, where it's coming from. But where is it? Okay, well, I'm going to cut to the frickin' chase, really. The truth doesn't change because you don't want to. This reality that we're experiencing has been hijacked by a force that some ancient people call archons, but there's different names right across the ancient world for the same force, the same entities. This is when the penny drops, when all these different names for the gods all over the world turn out to be different names for the same force because they're described in the same way. And all over the world you see this. In the Far East, Central America and other places, they're known as the Serpent Gods. The Zulus call them the Chitahuri, the children of the serpent. They're the Anunnaki in Sumer, Babylon, now Iraq. They're our snake brothers to the Hopi people of North America. They're the star people, many, many examples of that. They are the demons of Christianity. To the Gnostics, they are archons. And to the Islamic and pre-Islamic world, they're called the jinn. And in their prime form, they are energetic in nature, but they can take form, as I will talk about. So, like I said,
King Solomon had infinite power and wealth. He also had a special ring through which he had conquered the nobles of these creatures. Aleister Crowley mentions the names of 72 of these creatures in his book, Goetia. The Temple of Solomon, which had two pillars called Zakin and Boaz, formed the number 11. This number is very important in numerology and is known as the Master of Numbers. This number is also very important in Kabbalah. The creature with whom Aleister Crowley was associated calls himself 11, or the creature called Crayon, who is referred to as a divine being, also introduces himself as 11. All these creatures are the same. They just have different names in different periods, which we can call by their other name, reptilian. What seems to be figures and sculptures in human form with the head of a reptile, or reptile with a man's head and sculpture with odd shapes that I do not believe can be made or described by the human imagination of that time. In particular, jinns who have been drawn in the art of Middle Eastern art are similar to those of the medieval art of Europe, with the name of demons. Reptiles are extraterrestrial beings, meaning they live in a higher dimension of our physical dimension. Just as the human ear can hear waves between 20 Hz and 2000 Hz, our eyes can see a limited range of light normally. So the human eye cannot see them, but they can see us because we live in a lower dimension than them. These creatures usually have no access to our physical world. The only way they communicate is with humans and their bodies. And since an organism is more perishable in the physical dimension and has a more limited life, a non-physical being in a higher dimension should have a longer life. They can enter the human body in what is called demon possession. Therefore, the abnormal behaviors that are seen in some humans are not the reason that they are reptiles, but these creatures are in their body, and a series of characteristics and behaviors of these creatures are reflected in the physical states of these humans. These creatures do not have a physical body, because if they did, intentionally or unintentionally, they would have appeared by mistake or exposed themselves in an advanced human civilization where there are CCTV cameras everywhere. But those who have seen them will be in a special situation. They have seen and even interacted with the sleep and wakefulness, which is called a trance. These documents show that these creatures live in a different dimension from us and with us. Many people also wake up with a sleep paralysis between sleep and wakefulness. In this state, their body is locked and they are not able to move it. This state may occur due to fatigue or high stress, but there is another type of sleep paralysis which has no scientific explanation. People in the same state have seen a half-human and reptile creature.
My first reptilian creature experience was when I found myself, I suddenly woke up being in an out-of-body state, and then I saw this strange hand come over the bed, and naturally I was quite scared, as you probably would be, so I kind of like told it to leave. Not using those words, probably a bit more aggressive, and then I didn't leave, and so I started praying, and then I thought it left, and then it came back and took me out of my body, and then I followed it.
Probably my first conscious encounter was when I was 18, which is about 10 years ago now, and I could feel lots of presences around me, and they seemed to have their hands on me, and I could smell a very distinctive smell. It smelled like dank jungle vegetation, quite putrid, like decaying vegetation.
I mean, you were in this, like a subconscious state just before sleep?
I was in a very much a conscious state, so it wasn't a subconscious state. I was very much aware of being awake.
Reptiles are non-organic negative energy creatures. They are more likely to go to single people, or those with major mental health problems, because it is easier to get the body of this group of people. If these creatures want to communicate with someone, they will feel a set of symptoms, like frequent nightmares, seeing dogs, cats, scorpions, snakes, jumping from heights in dreams, locking the body in sleep, seeing transcendental beings in sleep or walking, hearing strange sounds, sigh and moan in sleep, see halos, clouds, and moving shadows. Some people who are in complete control of these creatures pretend to be like them, thinking that they are extraterrestrials. Every year, strange things happen all over the world. People report that they have seen strange creatures, but unlike in the past when people recorded the image of these creatures on the walls, today these strange scenes are recorded with cameras. There are many video clips of these creatures on the internet, but most of them are nothing but video effects. There's a hall in the Vatican called the Paul VI Hall, also known as the Hall of the Pontifical Audiences. There's a building in Rome named of Pope Paul VI. At first glance, it looks like a normal building, but when we look at it from another angle, it is not difficult to understand what this structure looks like. It is quite obvious that this structure is inspired by a snake. The Pope's Audience Hall building at the Vatican was designed to look exactly like a giant reptile inside and out. When the Pope addresses the audience there, the effect is that he is speaking from the mouth of a giant reptile. Do not forget that apart from this subject being a theory, the Big Bang is also a theory. This means that it's possible being it wrong. As no one believed UFOs were true, a credible source like the Pentagon reported that there were unknown flying objects or UFOs that exist. Other things may be imaginary today and may become reality tomorrow.